Robert had always been a quiet man. At 68 years old, he lived alone in a small house on the edge of New Valley Colony. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, and his children lived on distant planets. Most days, he tended his small garden and fixed broken machines for his neighbors. On this particular morning, Robert needed supplies from the main trading post. His old hover truck made strange noises as he drove through the dusty streets of Port Central. The town was busier than usual, with ships landing and taking off every few minutes. He parked near the market square and walked toward the electronics shop, but something felt wrong. Groups of people were moving in the same direction, whispering to each other. Their faces showed excitement mixed with something darker. Robert followed the crowd down a narrow alley he had never noticed before. The path led to an underground area beneath the old warehouse district. The smell of oil and metal filled the air. Strange lights flickered from doorways. "First time down here, old man?" asked a young trader with gold teeth. "You're in for a treat. Best auction in the sector today." Robert felt confused. Auction? What kind of auction? The trader grinned. "The kind that makes men rich." "Follow me." He walked deeper into the underground maze. Robert saw shops selling things he had never imagined existed. Strange weapons, illegal technology, and substances that glowed with unnatural colors. This was clearly not a place for honest trading. The crowd gathered around a raised platform in the center of a large room. Bright lights focused on a small stage. Robert squeezed through the crowd, trying to understand what was happening. Then he saw them. 3 young females stood on the platform, each from a different alien species. They wore simple gray clothes and had metal bands around their wrists. Their eyes showed fear, but also a stubborn strength that refused to break. The first was tall and graceful, with blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her silver hair fell past her shoulders, and when she looked at the crowd, Robert felt like she was seeing right through him. The second was smaller, with features that reminded him of the cats he used to keep as pets. Her golden fur caught the light, and her green eyes moved constantly, watching everything around her with sharp intelligence. The third was the most unusual. Her skin had a greenish tint, and her hair looked like it was made of living vines. When she breathed, tiny flowers seemed to bloom and fade along her arms. "Ladies and gentlemen," called out a fat man in expensive clothes, "today we have 3 premium workers for sale. Each one has been tested and certified for domestic service." Robert's stomach turned. These weren't workers. These were people being sold like objects. The blue-skinned girl stepped forward, and she spoke. Her voice was clear and strong. "We are not property. We have names, families, and dreams. What you're doing here is wrong." The crowd laughed. Some made cruel comments about her spirit needing to be broken. "Lot number 1, the auctioneer continued, ignoring her words. "This Zelthari female has special mental abilities. She can read thoughts and emotions. It's perfect for security work or personal service. Bidding starts at 50,000 credits. Hands shot up around the room. Robert watched in horror as the price climbed higher and higher. The blue girl stood straight, refusing to show fear, even as her future was being decided by strangers. 1,070? Do I hear 80? Robert had never felt so angry in his life. He thought about his own daughter, living safely on Terra Nova. He thought about his late wife, who had taught him that all beings deserved respect and freedom. 100,000, he shouted. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at the old man in work clothes who had just made such a large bid. "Sir," the auctioneer said carefully, "did you say 100,000? "Yes," Robert replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. 100,000 credits. The blue girl looked at him with surprise. For a moment, their eyes met, and he saw something shift in her expression. Going once, going twice, sold to the gentleman in the back. But Robert wasn't finished. As they brought the cat-like girl forward, he raised his hand again. 200,000 for all 3, the crowd gasped. That was more money than most people on the colony made in 5 years. "Sir, are you certain?" the auctioneer asked. "That's a very large sum. I'm certain," Robert said firmly. 200,000 for all 3 girls, together? The room erupted. in whispers. Some people seemed angry that they had lost their chance to buy. Others looked at Robert with suspicion, wondering why an old man would want 3 alien females. But Robert didn't care what they thought. He only cared about getting those girls away from this horrible place. Sold, the auctioneer announced. All 3 to the gentleman for 200,000 credits. As Robert made his way to the payment desk, his hands shook slightly. He was giving away his entire life savings, as the money he had planned to leave to his children was now being spent on 3 strangers. But when he looked back at the platform and saw the relief in their eyes, he knew he had made the right choice. The payment process took forever. Robert had to transfer funds from multiple accounts, each one representing years of careful saving. The clerk kept asking if he was sure, warning him that there were no returns or refunds. Finally, the metal bands were removed from the girls' wrists, and they were led to a small room where Robert waited. They stood together, uncertain and wary. "My name is Robert," he said gently. "I want you to know that you're safe now. You're free to go wherever you want." The blue girl spoke first. "Why did you do this? What do you want from us?" Down heavily in a chair, he suddenly felt very tired. "I don't want anything. Just couldn't stand watching what was happening to you." "Nobody does something like this without wanting something in return," the cat-like girl said. Her voice was soft but suspicious. "I have a daughter," Robert explained. "She's about your age. If she were ever in trouble like this, I would hope someone would help her." The plant girl stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind through leaves. "You spent everything, didn't you? I can sense the sadness in your heart. You gave up your security for strangers." Robert nodded. "Money can be earned again. But I couldn't live with myself if I had walked away." The 3 girls looked at each other, then back at him. "Where will we go?" the blue girl asked quietly. "Well," Robert said, "I have a small house outside town. It's not much, but it's peaceful. You're welcome to stay there while you figure out your next steps, or I can take you to the spaceport if you prefer." For the first time since he had seen them, the girls seemed to relax slightly. "We have nowhere else to go," the cat-like girl admitted. "Our homes, they're not safe for us anymore." Robert stood up slowly. "Then come with me. Let's get you away from this place." As they walked through the underground market toward the exit, Robert noticed how the girls stayed close, together, protecting each other. They had been through something terrible. They hadn't been broken by it. He thought about his quiet house and his empty rooms. Maybe for the first time in 3 years, his home wouldn't feel so lonely outside. The afternoon sun felt warm and clean after the darkness below. The 3 girls blinked in the bright light, and Robert saw them really smile for the first time. "Thank you," the blue girl said simply. Robert nodded. "Let's go home." The ride to Robert's house was quiet. The 3 girls sat in the back of his old hover truck, still unsure about their new situation. Robert could see them in his mirror, whispering to each other in languages he didn't understand. When they arrived at his small farmhouse, Robert felt embarrassed. The paint was peeling, the garden was overgrown, and everything looked tired and old. But the girls seemed relieved to be somewhere peaceful. "It's not much," Robert said, opening the front door. "But it's safe and quiet." The blue girl looked. "Around the simple living room, it feels calm here, not like the marketplace." "What are your names?" Robert asked gently. "I'd like to know what to call you." The blue girl hesitated, then said, "I'm Zara. This is Kira." She pointed to the cat-like girl. "And this is Nova," indicating the plant girl. "Beautiful names," Robert said with a smile. "You hungry?" "I was just about to make dinner." The girls nodded. They hadn't eaten properly in days. In the kitchen, Robert started preparing a simple meal. He wasn't a great cook, but he knew how to make basic food. As he worked, he noticed the girls watching his every move. "You can sit down," he said softly. "You don't have to stand there." "And we're not sure what you expect from us," Kira said, her green eyes alert. Robert stopped chopping vegetables and turned to face them. "I don't expect anything. You're not here to work or serve me. You're here because you need a safe place to stay." Zara stepped forward slightly. May I touch your mind? To see if you're telling the truth?" Robert felt nervous, but nodded. If it will help you feel safe. Zara placed her hand gently on his forehead. Her touch was warm and tingling. For a moment, Robert felt like someone was looking through his memories and thoughts. Then Zara stepped back, her silver eyes wide with surprise. You really mean it. You just want to help us. I told you so, Robert said, returning to his cooking. Over dinner, the girls began to relax. Robert asked them about their favorite foods and tried to remember what they liked. He told them about his farm, his late wife, and his simple life. Where do you come from? Robert asked carefully. Zara's expression grew sad. I'm from Zelthera Prime. I was studying at the Great Library when the raiders came. They destroyed everything and took anyone who had special abilities. Kira's ears drooped. My people live in the mountain clans on Nectar 7. When my family couldn't pay their debts, they sold me to the traders. Nova's voice was barely a whisper. I lived in the sacred grove on Flores. The mining companies cut down my home and captured anyone who tried to stop them. Robert felt his heart break for these young women. So sorry, that should never have happened to you. Can we contact our homes? Zara asked hopefully. Of course, Robert said. We'll go to the communications center tomorrow. That night, Robert gave each girl her own room. He had cleaned out his spare rooms and put fresh sheets on the beds. The girls seemed amazed to have their own private space. Lock your doors if it makes you feel safer, Robert told them. And if you need anything during the night, just call for me. The next morning, Robert woke to the smell of something wonderful. Cooking, he found Nova in the kitchen, preparing a meal with plants she had somehow grown overnight in small pots. I hope you don't mind, Nova said shyly. I wanted to make breakfast for you. Mind. This smells amazing, Robert said. Genuinely impressed, Kira appeared in the doorway, carrying a broken radio. I found this in your garage. I think I can fix it. You know about electronics? Robert asked. My people are good with machinery, Kira said, already taking the radio apart with careful precision. Zara came down last, looking tired. I couldn't sleep well. Too many thoughts and emotions in the air. Is that part of your ability? Robert asked. I can sense what people are. Feeling even their memories sometimes, Zara explained. It's overwhelming in crowded places. Robert nodded thoughtfully. Well, it's just us here. Hopefully that's easier for you. After breakfast, they went to the communication center in town. Robert watched as each girl tried to contact their home worlds. The results were heartbreaking. Zara's hands shook as she received the message about her library. It's gone. Everything is gone. They say there are no survivors. Kira's call to her clan was even worse. They say I'm no longer their family. They won't take me back. Nova's message was the final blow. The sacred grove is now a mining site. There's nothing left of my home. Robert felt their pain, as if it were his own. These girls had lost everything, their homes, their families, their entire way of life. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I wish things were different. What do we do now? Zara asked, tears in her silver eyes. Robert looked at the three young women who had nowhere to go. Stay with me as long as you need to. We'll figure it out together. Over the following days, something beautiful began to happen. The girls started to feel at home in Robert's house. Nova planted a garden that seemed to grow magically fast. Kira fixed everything that was broken around the farm. Zara helped Robert organize his books and papers. Robert found himself enjoying their company more than he had expected. The house felt alive again for the first time since his wife had died. You know, Zara said one evening as they sat on the porch, I can sense that you're lonely. You have been for a long time. Robert nodded. Yes, I have been, but not anymore. Kira curled up in a chair like a cat. In my culture, when someone saves your life, you owe them a debt that can never be repaid. You don't owe me anything, Robert said firmly. Maybe not a debt, Nova said, her voice like wind chimes, but gratitude. And something more. What do you mean? Robert asked. We've been thinking, Zara said. We don't have families anymore, but maybe we can make a new family, together. Robert felt a warmth in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. I'd like that very much, Zez. The weeks passed, they settled into a routine. Robert taught them about human customs and Earth history. They taught him about their cultures and abilities. They worked together on the farm. each contributing their unique skills. The lonely old man who had rescued 3 strangers was becoming something he never expected to be. Again, a father figure, a protector, and maybe even more than that. 4. The first time in 3 years, Robert went to sleep each night knowing he wasn't alone. And in the morning, he woke up excited to start each new day with his unusual new family. 3 months had passed since Robert brought the girls home. What started as a temporary shelter had become something much more meaningful. The old farmhouse that once echoed with silence now filled with laughter, conversation, and the sounds of life. Robert woke each morning to the smell of Nova's magical cooking. She had transformed his simple kitchen into something that felt like a restaurant. Her plants grew impossibly fast, providing fresh vegetables and herbs that made every meal taste amazing. "Good morning," Robert said, finding Nova humming while she prepared breakfast. Tiny flowers bloomed along her arms when she was happy, and today she was covered in small white blossoms. "Good morning, Robert," she replied, her voice carrying that musical quality that reminded him of wind through trees. "I'm making those pancakes you like, but with berries from my new plants." Kira appeared in the doorway, tools in her hands. "The old tractor is running perfectly now," she announced proudly. "I also fixed the water pump and that squeaky door in the barn." Robert marveled at how Kira could fix anything. Her people had a natural understanding of machinery that amazed him. But more than that, she seemed to genuinely enjoy helping around the farm. "Thank you," Robert said. "I don't know what I did without you." Zara came down the stairs looking more rested than she had in weeks. "The mental noise is much quieter here," she said. "I can actually sleep peacefully." This had become their morning routine. They would eat together, talk about their plans for the day, and share stories from their different worlds. Robert found himself looking forward to these moments more than anything else in his life. After breakfast, they worked together on the farm. Robert was amazed at how well they functioned as a team. Nova's plants grew faster and stronger than anything he had ever seen. Kira kept all the equipment running smoothly. Zara used her abilities to sense when animals were sick or when crops needed attention. Robert said one afternoon, as they worked in the garden, "This farm has never been more productive. People in town are starting to notice." "Is that a problem?" Zara asked, concern in her voice. "Not at all," Robert smiled. "It's wonderful. I'm proud of what we've built together." The truth was, Robert felt more alive than he had in years. The grief that had weighed him down since his wife's death was slowly lifting. These 3 remarkable women had brought joy back into his life. But it wasn't just gratitude he felt. Something deeper was growing in his heart. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Zara suddenly looked at Robert with a puzzled expression. "Robert," she said carefully, "your emotions are different lately, stronger, more complex." Robert felt his face grow warm. "What do you mean?" "I don't mean to intrude," Zara said quickly. "It's just that I can sense feelings, and yours have changed. There's something new there." Kira and Nova looked at Robert with curiosity. He realized he couldn't hide his feelings from them, especially not from Zara. "You're right," Robert said quietly.
Oh.
"My feelings have changed. When I first brought you home, I just wanted to help, but now I care about you in ways I didn't expect." "We care about you too," Nova said softly. "You've become like a father to us." Robert nodded, but he wasn't sure if father was the right word anymore. His feelings were more complicated than that. "In my culture," Kira said, "when someone saves your life and then cares for you, it creates a bond that goes beyond family. It's called heart-choosing." Single quotes. "What does that mean?" Robert asked. "It means you choose someone to be part of your soul," Kira explained. "Not because you have to, but because you want to. Because life is better when they're in it." Zara looked thoughtful. "Among my people, we believe that minds can connect in ways that transcend normal relationships. When thoughts and feelings align perfectly, it creates something beautiful." Nova nodded. "My people understand that all living things are connected. Sometimes those connections grow into something deeper than friendship or family. They become part of who you are." Robert felt his heart racing. Were they saying what he thought they were saying? "I don't want to assume anything," Robert said carefully. "But are you telling me that you feel something more than gratitude?" The 3 girls looked at each other, then back at Robert. Yes, Zara said simply. We've talked about it. We all feel it. But you're so young, Robert said, his voice full of concern. And I'm just an old man. People wouldn't understand. Age is just time, Nova said. What matters is how souls connect, and our souls are connected to yours. Kira moved closer to Robert. In my culture, we don't measure worth by years. We measure it by actions, by character, by the way someone makes you feel safe and valued. You make us feel complete, Zara added, like we've found where we belong. Robert felt tears in his eyes. You've changed my life completely. I was just surviving before you came. Now I'm living again. And why does it matter what others think? Nova asked. This is our life, our choice, our happiness. Just then, they heard a vehicle approaching. Robert saw an official government hover car pulling up to the house. A woman in uniform got out and walked toward the porch. Robert Chen? She asked, looking at a tablet. I'm Inspector Wells from Colonial Services. We've received reports about unusual activity at this address. Robert felt his heart sink. He'd been worried this day might come. What kind of reports? Robert asked, standing up. Reports of harboring unregistered aliens, the inspector said. I need to see documentation for these 3 individuals. Zara. Kira and Nova immediately moved to stand beside Robert. Their body language was protective, defensive. They're not unregistered, Robert said firmly. They're legally purchased and freed individuals living as my guests. The inspector looked skeptical. Sir, we need to verify their status and ensure they're not being held against their will. We're not being held, Zara said clearly. We're here by choice? We're family, Kira added, her voice strong and sure. Nova stepped forward. This is our home. Robert is our chosen family. The inspector spent an hour checking documents and asking questions. She seemed surprised by how articulate and confident the girls were. Finally, she put her tablet away. Everything appears to be in order, she said. But I'll be filing a report. You might receive more visits. After she left, the 4 of them sat in silence for a moment. I'm sorry, Robert said. I never wanted to bring trouble to you. You didn't bring trouble, Zara said firmly. You brought us home. We'll face whatever comes together, Kira said. That's what families do, Nova added. Robert looked at these 3 amazing women who had chosen to stand with him. In that moment, he realized that what they had wasn't just friendship or gratitude. It was something deeper, something worth fighting for. Yes, he said, taking each of their hands. That's exactly what families do. A year had passed since Robert first brought the girls home. Seasons had changed, and so had their lives. What started as a rescue had become something beautiful and unexpected. Robert sat in his favorite chair, watching Zara read a book about Earth history. Kira was tinkering with a new device she was building, and Nova was tending to her ever-growing garden through the window. This peaceful evening routine had become precious to him. Robert, Zara said suddenly, closing her book. We need to talk to you about something important. The tone in her voice made Robert sit up straighter. Kira put down her tools, and Nova came in from the garden. All 3 girls looked serious but not worried. What is it? Robert asked, feeling nervous. The 3 girls exchanged glances, then Zara spoke. We've been thinking about our future, about what we want our lives to look like. And, Robert prompted gently, we want to stay here forever, Kira said simply. Not as guests, not as people you rescued, but as something more permanent. Robert felt his heart skip a beat. What do you mean? Nova moved closer to his chair. We mean we want to be your family, in every way possible. Legally, emotionally, spiritually. We want to marry you, Zara said quietly. Robert felt like the air had left his lungs. Marry? All of you? Yes, Kira said firmly. In our cultures, it's not unusual for multiple people to join together in marriage when they share deep bonds. Robert stood up and walked to the window, his mind racing. But I'm 16 years old. You're young women with your whole lives ahead of you. Age is just a number, Zara said, following him. What matters is how we feel about each other, people. We'll think it's strange, Robert said, turning to face them. We'll say I'm taking advantage of you. Let them think what they want, Nova said, her voice strong. We know the truth. We know our own hearts. Robert looked at each of them. Are you sure this is what you want? You could have any life you choose. You could find younger partners. Start families of your own. We have found our family, Kira said. With you, Robert? Zara said, stepping closer. May I show you something? She placed her hand on his forehead, and suddenly Robert could feel what she was feeling. Love, deep and pure. Not the love of a child for a parent, but the love of a woman for a man who had proven his worth through kindness and sacrifice. When she pulled her hand away, Robert was amazed. You really feel that way about me? We all do, Nova said. Different ways, but equally strong. Robert sat down heavily. I care about you all more than I ever expected, but marriage, that's a big step, we know, Zara said. That's why we've thought about it carefully. Over the next hour, they explained their feelings and their plans. They had researched the legal requirements and found that multi-partner marriages were allowed on New Valley Colony, though they were rare. In my culture, Kira explained, marriage is about loyalty and commitment. You've shown us both. You freed us, protected us, and gave us a home. Among my people, Zara added, marriage is about mental and emotional connection. We share thoughts, dreams, and understanding. My people believe marriage is about growing together, Nova said. Like plants that intertwine their roots to become stronger, Robert felt overwhelmed. I need time to think about this. Of course, Zara said. You don't expect an answer tonight. Over the following days, Robert thought about little else. He watched the girls go about their daily routines, and he tried to imagine what marriage would mean. Would people accept them? Would the government cause problems? Would he be able to make all three of them happy? But more importantly, he realized that his feelings for them had grown beyond what he had admitted to himself. He loved each of them in unique ways. Zara's intelligence and empathy, Kira's strength and loyalty, Nova's gentleness and creativity. One evening, as they sat together, after dinner, Robert made his decision. I've been thinking about your proposal, he said. The three girls looked at him expectantly. I'm worried about many things, Robert continued. The age difference, what people will think, whether I can be a good husband to all of you. Their faces fell slightly. But, Robert said, and they looked up again, I've realized that my biggest worry would be losing you. You've become the most important people in my life. Does that mean ... Zara asked hopefully. It means yes, Robert said, smiling. If you'll have me, I'd be honored to marry all of you. The girls erupted in joy. Kira hugged him tightly, her purr-like sound filling the room. Nova's arms bloomed with flowers. Zara's eyes sparkled with happiness. But we need to do this right, Robert said. We need to plan carefully and make sure we're prepared for any challenges. We've already started. Planning, Kira said excitedly. We want to have a ceremony that honors all of our cultures. And we want to do it here, Nova added. In the garden, surrounded by life and growth. We want to invite the neighbors who have been kind to us, Zara said. They show them that we're a real family. Robert felt a warmth in his chest that he hadn't felt since his first marriage decades ago. When do you want to do this? Next month, Nova said. When the garden is in full bloom, it gives us time to handle the legal paperwork, Zara added practically. And to prepare for any problems, Kira said, always thinking about protection. Robert nodded. There will be challenges. Some people won't understand or accept us. We'll face them together, Zara said firmly. That's what families do, Nova added. And that's what married couples do, Kira finished. Robert looked at these three remarkable women who had chosen him, despite everything. They were offering him a kind of love and family he never thought he'd have again. Yes, he said, taking their hands. That's exactly what we'll do. As they began planning their unusual wedding, Robert felt a sense of completeness he hadn't experienced in years. He was no longer just the old man who had rescued 3 aliens. He was about to become a husband again, and they were about to become a family in the truest sense. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together, and that made all the difference. I love you all, Robert said quietly. We love you too, they replied in unison, and in that moment Robert knew that everything was going to work out perfectly. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. Nova's garden had never looked more beautiful. Flowers of every color imaginable bloomed in perfect harmony, creating a natural cathedral of living beauty. The sweet scent of her magical plants filled the air. Robert stood in front of his mirror, adjusting his tie for the third time. His hands were shaking slightly, not from fear, but from excitement. At 69, he never thought he would be getting married again, especially not to three amazing women who had chosen to love him. "Are you ready?" Zara asked, appearing in the doorway. She looked stunning in a flowing blue dress that matched her skin perfectly. Her silver hair was decorated with small white flowers that Nova had grown just for this day. "As ready as I'll ever be," Robert said, smiling at her. Kira bounded into the room, wearing a golden dress that complemented her fur-like skin. "The guests are arriving," she announced, "and everything looks perfect." Nova appeared last, wearing a green dress that seemed to be made from living vines. Small flowers bloomed and faded along the fabric as she moved. "The ceremony space is ready," she said, her voice musical with happiness. Robert had worried that no one would come to their unusual wedding. But as he looked out the window, he saw many of their neighbors arriving. The baker who bought Nova's vegetables, the mechanic who traded parts with Kira, the librarian who loved talking books with Zara, even some of the people from town, who had initially been suspicious, had come to celebrate. "I can't believe so many people are here," Robert said, touched by the support. "They've seen how happy we are," Zara said, "and they've seen how much good we do for the community." It was true. Over the past year, their little farm had become a gathering place for the neighborhood. Nova's incredible vegetables fed half the town. Kira fixed everyone's broken equipment. Zara helped settle disputes with her empathic abilities. They had proven themselves to be valuable members of the community. The ceremony itself was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They had created their own traditions, blending elements from all four cultures. Robert stood under an arch of Novas, flowering vines, waiting for his three brides, the colony's judge. A kind woman named Patricia had agreed to perform the ceremony. She had been hesitant at first, but after meeting the four of them, she understood that their love was genuine. "Friends and neighbors," Judge Patricia began, "we gathered today to witness something special. For people who found each other in difficult circumstances and chose to build a life together based on love, respect, and mutual support." Zara was the first to join Robert under the arch. She spoke her vows in both her language and in human words. "I promise to share my thoughts and feelings with you always, to support you with my mind and my heart, to be your partner in all things." Kira came next, her green eyes bright with emotion. "Promise to be loyal to you above all others, to protect our family and our home, to stand by your side through any challenge." Nova was last, flowers blooming in her hair as she spoke. "I promise to grow with you through all seasons of life, to nurture our love and our family, to create beauty and harmony in our home." Then it was Robert's turn. He looked at each of them as he spoke. "I promise to love and cherish each of you, to protect and provide for our family, to be worthy of the trust you've placed in me." The judge smiled. "By the power given to me by New Valley Colony, I now pronounce you married. May kiss your brides." The crowd cheered as Robert kissed each of his wives. The celebration that followed was joyful and warm. People danced, ate Nova's amazing food, shared stories about the unusual family that had brought so much good to their community. As the evening wound down and the guests began to leave, Robert felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you all for being here," he said to the crowd, "for accepting us and supporting us. Your family now," called out the baker. "All of you. You've made our town better," added the mechanic. "We're lucky to have you." After the guests left, the four of them sat together on their porch, still in their wedding clothes. The garden glowed softly in the moonlight, and the air was filled with the gentle sounds of night insects. "I can't believe we did it," Robert said, still somewhat amazed. "I can," Zara said, snuggling against his side. "It feels right. It feels like destiny." "In my culture, we believe that some souls are meant to find each other," Kira added, curled up like a cat in her chair. "And now we have forever to grow together," Nova said, her voice soft and content. Over the following months, their unconventional marriage faced some challenges. A few people in distant towns criticized their arrangement. Some government officials questioned whether it was legal. The four of them stood together through every difficulty. Their farm became even more successful. They started a small business, selling Nova's produce and Kira's inventions. Zara began teaching classes about interspecies communication. Robert coordinated their efforts and managed the practical side of their growing enterprise. Word of their story spread throughout the colony and beyond. Other rescued aliens began arriving, looking for help and guidance. The four of them opened their home to anyone who needed support. We're not just a family anymore, Rabet observed one evening as they watched a group of young refugees working in their expanded garden. We're a community. That's what happens when you plant seeds of kindness, Nova said wisely. They grow into something bigger than you imagined. Their house, once quiet and empty, now buzzed with activity. Children played in the garden while their parents worked. Young adults learned new skills. Elderly refugees found peace and purpose. Robert, now 71, had never felt more energetic or fulfilled. His 3 wives had not only saved him from loneliness, but it inspired him to help others in ways he never thought possible. "Do you ever regret it?" Zara asked him one day, giving up your quiet retirement for all this chaos? Robert looked around at the bustling community they had built. Former slaves now lived as free people. Children who had known only fear now played and laughed. Families separated by tragedy had found new bonds. "Never," he said firmly. "This is the best thing I've ever done? Even better than rescuing us?" Kira asked with a smile. "You 3 rescued me," Robert replied. "You gave me a reason to live again, to love again, to hope again." As the years passed, their story became legend. The old man who bought 3 alien girls to free them had indeed ended up marrying them. But more than that, together they had created something beautiful, a place where love conquered prejudice, where different species could live in harmony, and where anyone who needed help could find a home. Their wedding day had been just the beginning. The real adventure was the life they built together, one day at a time, one act of kindness at a time, and they lived happily ever after, proving that the most unexpected love stories are often the most beautiful ones of all.